Hey everyone, welcome back to the Pathways to Happiness podcast. My name is Nena Lavonne. I'm a life coach that specializes in personal development and life improvement. And today we're going to be talking all about how to feel passionate about life again. This is a topic that I think really affects just about everyone at least once in their lifetime, and for a lot of people, many times during their own life. Certainly, it's something that I've gone through in the past. So I am definitely excited to speak about this topic. But before we do that, I just wanted to, as always, take a moment to thank you so much for your support both here and on the Nena Lavonne YouTube channel. It's just such a pleasure to read your comments and interact with you. So I just wanted to thank you so much and remind you that next week we are going to be recording another questions and answers podcast. So if you do have questions, please go ahead and get them to me. You can reach out to me on Twitter. My Twitter handle is at Nena Lavonne, which is NENA LAVONNE, and you can also send me an email to nina.lavonne@gmail.com. So let's go ahead and jump right into today's topic. Now, there's nothing that can feel more disheartening or even scary than the feeling that you've lost enthusiasm or passion for your life. Sometimes this is something that we become very aware of, but other times it kind of sneaks up on us and it actually takes us a long time to notice that we're feeling this way. We might feel that we've lost interest in some of our relationships or our career or even in our dreams. We might feel that nothing is really inspiring us lately, or like every single day seems to be a repeat of the day before. Now, I'm not talking about being clinically depressed or being filled with great sadness on a regular basis. Those are actually really serious issues that need to be addressed right away. But I'm talking more about the feeling of losing passion for your life. This is something that I have been through a number of times in my life, that feeling that everything is just kind of blah, or that life is becoming more and more of an uphill battle. It is not a good feeling. I know this firsthand. The times when I have personally felt this way, it just really has killed my motivation. I just have felt that I needed my space, and even the things that I'm usually passionate about don't really excite me or interest me when I'm feeling that way. So it's really hard to get stuff done when you're feeling like that, because it feels like nothing that you do really makes a difference. And one of the things that I hate the most about it is that it's so different than my normal personality. My normal personality is the complete opposite. I'm usually incredibly interested in life and I have a ton of enthusiasm. So when everything starts to just feel overwhelming, I know that I need to really take a step back and start to evaluate what's going on. I know that the sooner that I can figure out the problem, the sooner that I can fix it. So it's just a matter of really catching it before it gets out of hand. And I know I am not alone in this. I know that so many people go through this. In fact, I've had a number of people recently reach out to me and ask me specifically what they can do when they're going through this type of situation. So I thought it would be the perfect thing to discuss today. So today we're going to really get to the bottom of why we might be feeling this way, and then we'll go over some very actionable steps to help us find a solution. So I'm going to first talk about some of the common reasons that we can begin to feel this way in the first place. I'm going to go through these pretty quickly, but then I will address them much more in depth when we are actually talking about solutions. So one of the things that can happen is that we can start to feel a lot of self-doubt, have a lot of negative thinking, or develop a bad attitude. So of course, those are things that we don't like to admit always when we go through, but it does happen. When we do slip into these negative mindsets, once we're there, nothing really makes us feel too much better. We start to get very pessimistic and we start to really only notice when the bad things are happening around us. So we kind of ignore all the good things in our life and we start to get really focused on the negative. So that is one of the things that can definitely start to make us lose passion for life and just feel down in general. Another thing is we may have unmet needs that we are ignoring. This one is huge, and that's something we will definitely talk about in a moment. We could be feeling overwhelmed by life, that we have too many things going on, or the things that we have to deal with are too difficult. We may not have any new goals, or we've already kind of gotten the things that we thought that we wanted. So in a sense, we're kind of bored. Another thing could be that we've grown out of our relationships or the experiences that we have. It might be time for us to move on from things, but we really aren't letting ourselves do that. We might also feel that we have everything kind of figured out, that we don't really have a sense of wonder or mystery for life anymore. And this is actually kind of a bigger deal than it sounds like. When we kind of lose that spark of mystery, it kind of makes us feel that, life really isn't that interesting. I think about all the time when I was a child because I was convinced that we lived in a haunted house. Now, that is something that terrified me on one hand, but it also kind of excited me, and it gave me the sense that I really didn't understand everything that was in the world. There was this sense that there were things that I couldn't fully grasp or couldn't fully understand, but there was definitely things that I wanted to learn about. So I am not saying that we need to invest time into contemplating whether or not ghosts exist, although if that is something that you enjoy doing, that is a different story. But I am saying that we need to contemplate the possibility that we've kind of lost that natural sense of curiosity and wonder about what the possibilities in this world actually are. So that's something that I feel tends to happen for a lot of people. Another thing that can happen is that we can feel that our life is really out of control. When we don't feel that we really have any control over our life, and this tends to go on, we kind of give up because we feel like nothing that we are doing is really going to alter the outcome because, again, we have lost what we feel is the control over our life. Another thing, and this one I see happen all the time, is that we feel that we can't figure out what it is we should be doing, or in other words, what our passion is. So we just kind of drift along. So when we let the waves of life kind of carry us around, we can start to feel that we really don't have any true purpose, and that can lead us to feel that our life really has no meaning. And of course, when we feel that our life does not have meaning, we lose passion for it because we feel that it really does not matter. Another thing that can happen is that we aren't really taking care of ourselves. And when we aren't practicing good self-care, or we're not exercising or eating right or sleeping enough, we just start to generally feel badly. And that can definitely make us feel that our life is not that great all around. Another thing that happens sometimes is we start to develop the feeling that we don't measure up. We feel that no matter what we do, that we are not enough, and it's unlikely that we'll ever really be enough. So we start to lose enthusiasm for what we're doing because we never feel that we're going to be that great at it. We don't feel that we have the capability for success. And that just kind of leads to an attitude of feeling like, what's the point? What is the point of putting in effort into life if it's not going to make a difference either way? So that's something that can definitely happen. And another thing that can happen is that we're just doing too many things that drain us. So we could be constantly checking social media or going to everything that we're invited to. We might feel obligated to too many things. We could be just spending a lot of time playing on our phone or just doing a lot of unnecessary busy work. If we are wasting so much of our time, then again, everything starts to feel meaningless because we're not doing anything that really serves any real purpose, or we're not doing something that is really self-initiated. We're feeling that we're just doing things that are really just obligations. So, of course, we're not going to feel passionate if we're only fulfilling obligations. And the last thing is probably the most obvious, and that's that our life has just become too routine. When we've lost really the novelty in our life, we get completely bored. So if we're doing the same things over and over and over, we're thinking the same thoughts over and over and over, and going to the same places and seeing the same people, definitely we're going to start to lose passion because our life should be exciting. It should be fun. It should be something that we look forward to. So if at the beginning of the day we already know exactly what's going to happen throughout the entire day, that's probably not a good sign. And we are going to eventually really lose interest for our life. So those are the things that I tend to see in my own clients, but certainly there are other reasons that could be for losing passion in your life. But let's talk about what the solution might be for you. So, of course, that's the most important thing. We definitely don't want to continue feeling like this because it's going to lead to burnout, and we don't want to live a life that lacks passion. We want to feel extremely passionate about life. We want to be excited and happy about life. We want to, be waking up with this sense of excitement about our day. So, how can we make this happen? So the first thing that we can do, and this one is definitely not a long-term solution, but sometimes you need to really break the routine and find a temporary escape just to kind of jolt you back into action. So this could be a vacation or even just a singular day off from work to go hiking or to go to the movies or something like that. But something different that we don't usually incorporate into our day-to-day life. This little time away from our everyday normal experience can offer us a lot. It can give us rest. It can give us a fresh perspective. It can give us some much needed escapism. It can also give us a time we need to really look over our life and make some tough decisions about where we're going to proceed from here and ask ourselves how we got there in the first place. We need to know what we can do to actually renew ourselves. So that's something that we need to specifically ask ourselves. But it all starts with finding that temporary escape just to pull you out of this negative situation and remind yourself that life is fun and life is interesting. And that can start to encourage the conversation to go on inside your head about, again, how did I get here and where do I need to be going next? Which really brings me to my next point, which is introspection. So, was there a triggering event that happened to make us start to feel this way? Or are we just worn down? If we're worn down, what exactly might be contributing to this? Something to ask yourself might be is, if you had a magic wand, would there be a change that you could make in your life that would automatically fix the problem? Now, if you can think of something right away, that's a great indication that it could be either the source of the problem or something that's really aggravating it. We also need to contemplate if we feel that our life is out of control, because if our life is out of control, we really start to emotionally check out. So if that's the case, we need to figure out how we can get our life back in control and if there are actionable steps that we can think of to take to actually do that. So again, it could be that we're overwhelmed or that, there are different issues that we're kind of avoiding, but we need to really do some introspection to figure out what that actually is. So that's going to just take us time to really sit down with ourselves and ask ourselves these big questions. And a lot of times we don't ask ourselves these questions because we're afraid of the answers. But we need to be brave and ask these questions because no problem is going to get solved until we know exactly what that problem is. So that's where doing that introspection really comes into play. Another thing that is essential is to really evaluate the relationships in our life as they stand right at this moment. So a lot of times, other people are contributing to this feeling, but we haven't really let ourselves contemplate this. Maybe your boss is having unrealistic expectations of you, or maybe you are going through a tough time with one of your children. We want to really consider these factors because oftentimes our relationships can be filling us with negative emotions, but we're ignoring them because we don't want to feel that we have to actually address this situation, or we might feel that there's nothing we can do about the situation. We also need to consider if some of our relationships that we have are ones that aren't really fulfilling anymore, or if we've grown out of them. This is an area that I find people aren't always able to be really honest with themselves about because a lot of times they feel too much guilt to really address it, but it's so important. And oftentimes relationships can be repaired or reinvented in some way into something that we can actually look forward to and more deeply enjoy. But it first takes noticing where and what those problems actually are, and then thinking of what can ultimately be done to improve them. So it could be as simple as having a heart to heart conversation with someone, all the way down to ultimately deciding that you need to spend some time apart. So either end of the spectrum could come into play, but it's definitely something that we must consider. Another thing that we have to do is to ask ourselves if we really have goals or future plans that are still inspiring to us. Are we working towards something that's important to us, or are we just kind of aimlessly trying to get through our day-to-day life? If we don't have a why for what we're doing, we are eventually going to lose passion. So if the answer for you is no, you need to start figuring out what would make you excited about the future and then start to make an action plan. Because even if we think about things that seem really, really out of reach or feel that they are a little bit overwhelming at first, they really fill us with excitement. So if we can just start taking those little baby steps towards these goals, then we're going to feel that our life is more fulfilling even before we actually reach these goals. So it's really the journey to these goals that fill us with excitement. But if we don't have a goal that we can journey towards, then that can never actually happen. Now, going hand in hand with that, we need to ask ourselves if we are really providing ourselves with enough experiences that we truly find meaningful. So it doesn't matter if you make $1 million a year, if you don't find what you're doing to be that valuable or meaningful, you're going to start to lose interest. Now, it is important to remember, however, that feeling passion for experiences might not happen in every aspect of your life all the time. So you might be in a job that doesn't really inspire you right now, but it does allow you the financial freedom to pursue other things in your life that do fulfill you. So in these situations, you want to do two things. The first thing is that you want to find ways to make your job the most pleasant experience that it could possibly be. And then the other thing is really making sure that you are making great use of your time when you are not at work. So if you hate your job and you just come home and you're going to hang out and watch Netflix in your sweatpants, then of course you are going to start to lose your passion for life because you're not giving yourself any opportunities to really enjoy it. So ask yourself, how am I spending my time? Am I just, again, scrolling on my phone or spending hours a day on social media? Or do I have meaningful activities that I could potentially engage in? So if the answer is no, I have no meaningful activities planned or even as a possibility for my life, that is definitely something that we need to address and change. The next thing we need to think about is if we have unmet needs in our life, and this is really a big one. So these could be small or big, but a lot of times we, again, really just check out because we have deeper issues that we are ignoring. So we need to go through every aspect of our life and see where the needs in our life actually are and if we're really doing all we can to meet those needs. So we can't really place the blame on other people for not meeting our needs. We are responsible for having our needs met, but we do want to, like we talked about, examine our relationships to see if they're contributing to this and take responsibility for the fact that if we are in a relationship that is not fulfilling or not meeting our needs, then we need to help make changes in that department. But not just in our relationships, in all aspects of our life. So we need to really use a lot of introspection and, be very honest with ourselves about this topic, because once we can again address these things, then we can move on from these issues. Another thing, and this one is really big for me personally, is to intentionally start looking for the good things in life. So even just the little tiny things, but we want to notice the things that are amazing in the world that we don't really pay attention to. I know for myself, when I start to get stressed or overwhelmed or start to feel that I'm losing passion, a lot of times I'm not even seeing any of the good things around me. And there are, for all of us, always good things around us. There's always blessings. It could be, very obvious things that we're choosing not to think about, or it could just be little things like the stars outside or the change of season or just having time to drink coffee in the morning and just really smelling that coffee and enjoying that moment. But we need to start looking for all those little good things because they can actually become a buffer against negativity. Because when we're going through this feeling of losing interest in our life, we start to really notice all the things that bother us. They're going to, in fact, bother us more than they usually do. And we're going to notice more of them than ever. But when we are actively trying to look for the good, it's going to really provide us with a buffer. So if we are seeing that cute little kitten that we see every morning when we walk to work, or we are taking a moment to call our niece and hear her adorable little voice, or whatever it is for you, but really look for those little precious moments in life and keep your eyes open for them, because they have done studies. The people that actually live their life this way have a much more fulfilling life than even the people that achieve big goals, because there are chances to see little miracles and little happy things all throughout our day, and that's going to keep our happiness level up in general. Another thing that we can do is to learn something new. So we might actually be intellectually starving ourselves. And I went through a period of my life that was certainly the case for me, because my job was all consuming and I did not expand any other parts of my mind for that time. So we need to follow our curiosity and look into things that, kind of spark our interest. Read a book about that, or watch a documentary about that, or, go to a museum. But constantly be learning something, because I know I say this all the time, but when we are not growing, we are dying. We need to constantly be evolving as people. And such a big part of that is being a lifelong learner. So for myself, I love to read. I'm an avid reader, and I make sure that I always have lots and lots of books available to me. And even when I am driving my car or when I'm running, I like to listen to audiobooks or podcasts. But you want to make sure that you are providing yourself with enough material to really be stimulating yourself on a regular basis. Because when you are stimulated and you're excited about life and you want to, continue learning about a topic that you just heard about, it just fills you with so much inspiration. So you may find that you go off on little tangents of things that, spark your interest for that moment. And that's really exciting because you can learn so many different things about the world. So I find for myself that I will go on a history kick, or then I will go on a spree where I only want to learn about space and, about what NASA is up to. But whatever it is, provide yourself with lots of opportunities for learning, and you will definitely find your passion for life coming back. Now, the next one, and this might even be the biggest one, but it is that we need to let go of the past and forgive ourselves. So, of course, we are going to lose passion for life if we are constantly living in the past and just bringing up these very painful memories all the time. So we may find ourselves really ruminating over situations that we can no longer do anything about, because that moment is not present anymore. We can't do anything about the past. So it is important that we learn what we can from what we feel are our mistakes. But after that has happened, we really do need to let it go, because there's really no point to holding on to it. It doesn't help us in any way. It only hinders us. It doesn't allow any growth. It doesn't allow for happiness in our life. So we need to really consider the fact that we are living in the past and that we are holding on to either grudges to other people or even towards ourselves. So if this is the case for you, you definitely want to work on healing those memories of the past and moving on. So Everybody is a human being. We all make mistakes. We will continue to make mistakes for the rest of our lives, but that does not mean we have to live with those mistakes every single moment of the day. The past is the past, and we are never going to find passion in our life if we are only thinking about things that we can no longer do anything about. So that is a huge one. Another thing that we can do is to make sure that we are expressing ourselves, and pretty much all the time. So we need to journal, we need to talk it out, we need to stop bottling it all up inside, because when we start to again have all these negative feelings, they're either going to eat at us or they're going to lead us down a road that we really don't want to go on. So we want to make sure that we get these feelings out. We need to express them. When we have all this angst inside of us that we're holding on to, it really starts to be exhausting. This is one of the things that really lead to burnout. And when we feel burnt out, we of course lose passion for our life because nothing really seems appealing anymore. So one thing that you can do in your journaling is to not only journal your negative feelings, but also journal your happy feelings. So keep a happiness journal as well, because we need to, again, think about the positive things in our life and place our focus there. So we need to write down and express those negative things, let those go, and then learn to focus on the positive. And we can help ourselves to focus on the positive by taking time to actually, again, notice them, appreciate them, write them down, talk about them, and focus on them. So that becomes a very big part of the process. The next thing, and this is the most obvious one, but it is something that oftentimes, even though it is obvious, we do not address, which is if we are bored, we need to find things that are stimulating for us to do. So oftentimes we just don't schedule time for fun. And as adults and as very busy human beings, we need to make sure that we are making fun a priority. So if we are not making sure it's a priority, what happens is it never comes into fruition. So we need to tell ourselves on, Saturday morning, I am going to go to this exciting art gallery opening, or on Tuesday night, I'm going to go meet my friend for drinks, or, whatever it is, but you need to schedule it, because if you don't schedule it, you are never going to do any of these activities and you will just continue to be bored. So we have to actually put effort into our life. And I know a lot of times when we lose passion, we feel that we don't have that effort to give. But we need to push ourselves to put that effort in, or this is a cycle that will continue and continue and continue. So another thing, and this one really goes hand in hand with that, is to start to find things that we have passion for. So if we are, living our life and it's not that interesting, maybe we really haven't found the things that we feel deeply about. So that is going to come down to trying new things. We can't find passions in life if we don't experiment. So it can start with just brainstorming things that you have some interest in that you want to pursue further, but you want to, again, push yourself to find these things and to try them out. So go take that karate lesson, go take that salsa lesson, buy the materials to paint, whatever it is, whatever comes into your mind. But you can't find passions unless you actually look for them. Another thing to think about is if we have balance in our life. So if we are spending all of our time in one area, and for most people that is unfortunately at work, but could be anything else. It could be your responsibilities as a parent. It could be just about anything. But if we are spending way too much time in one area, we really need to get some balance in our life. When we don't have balance, we certainly do not have passion for life, because we can't spend that much of our time doing one activity. We have to stimulate different parts of our brain and different parts of our personality. So that's something to really think about. And we did do a podcast about finding balance in your life. So if that's something that you are interested in finding out a little bit more information on actually how to do that, go ahead and look for that podcast as well. You may find that to be helpful. But we definitely need to make sure that we are not spending all of our life in one area. We do need some variety, or of course we are going to get bored and very overwhelmed. Another thing to consider is that we may be, without realizing it, constantly comparing ourselves to other people. Now, in this day and time of social media, it is often kind of hard to avoid, but it is avoidable with practice. So, whenever we compare ourselves, we are always going to make ourselves feel that we are less than whoever we are comparing ourselves to. That is our natural tendency as human beings. We are going to feel less than other people if we directly compare. Because again, we are looking at somebody else's finished product. We are not looking at somebody as they really are, especially on social media. We're just looking at their, airbrushed finished product. We're not seeing all the work that went into whatever it is they are showing off that they are doing. And we don't even know if there is truth behind what they are, putting out there. But we never think about that. We just look at their picture and we say, oh, they are better looking than us, or we are looking at their accomplishments and we're thinking, well, they have accomplished more than we have, or whatever it is. But we need to be mindful about comparison because, we always are going to come out on the losing end. Not because we should and not because that is the reality, but that, again, is human nature. So it is a terrible habit that ends up, completely ruining our passion for life because we never feel that we are living up to the standards of other people. So that's something that we definitely need to work on if it's something that is contributing to negativity in our life. Another practice that is so important and can really enhance all aspects of our life is to become more mindful. Mindfulness is really the secret to having a good life because when we practice mindfulness, which is basically just the kind of secular westernized form of Buddhist meditation, which simply states that we are being actively present in everything that we are doing, it really helps us to enjoy the moments that we are having now. So we already said that a lot of us, really are living in the past. But another thing that can happen is that we are constantly worrying about the future. So if we're spending so much of our time thinking about future events, then we're not really in the present moment now and seeing the potential good that is happening at this very moment. So a lot of times we end up missing so many of the precious moments of our life simply because we are not paying attention to them. So thinking about that concept of mindfulness becomes exceedingly important. So that can certainly give us passion for our life again because it simply allows us the opportunity to notice what is happening in our life when it is actually happening. And the last thing that I wanted to talk about is the idea of making an impact in this world. So nothing can give us more passion than feeling like our lives are truly making a difference for other people. So that can come down to volunteering or, finding things that we are passionate about that we can contribute to in some way. Or it could be, simple things in your own home, like spending more quality time with your spouse or your children or your dear friends. But whatever it is, truly making a bigger impact, giving more, doing more. When we feel that we are doing things that are important outside of ourselves, it gives us just a much greater sense of purpose. That wonderful feeling that you get when you feel like you really did something kind for someone. And, making sure that we are constantly providing ourselves with opportunities to do that does nothing but greatly enhance our life and make us feel really inspired. So look for ways that you can contribute. Look for ways that you can give back because it's going to actually give to you even more than it's giving to the people that you are helping out or that you are being kind to. So this pro-social behavior is absolutely proven to give you a much happier and more fulfilling life yourself. So these are just some of the things that you can do to start to get excited about life again. But it all starts with figuring out why you lost that excitement in the first place. So that's really the key. Once you have that information, you can start to implement all these different ideas and you can gain that passion back for your life very, very quickly. And a lot of times it's just a matter of self-awareness, figuring out what that issue actually is and why you have chosen to ignore it. So if you can be brave and to actually start to address that issue and to solve those problems, it's not only going to feel like a weight has been lifted off your shoulders, but you can really feel like you are starting fresh in life again. And a lot of times it just comes down to feeling like you want to kind of start over and reset your life so you can feel that happiness and passion and get motivated again. So I hope this podcast today was inspiring and helpful to you. And again, if you have questions or comments that you would like to get to me, please go ahead and reach out, and don't forget to submit questions if you have them for the upcoming questions and answers podcast. So I thank you so very much for spending time with me today. It's always a pleasure speaking with you, and I greatly look forward to talking to you next time. Have an absolutely amazing day.